So we were discussing about errors. After that, we started with combination of errors, right? 1 minute. Like, yes. So in combination of errors, we saw errors in sum and difference, right? So yesterday I told you. So what is going to be the maximum error that is going to occur? That is delta z will be equal to delta a plus delta b. I hope you guys have understood this, right? Now we will see what will happen in the case of difference. That is z is equal to a minus b. Okay. So let's say the measured value of a is equal to a plus or minus delta a. Similarly, measured value of b is equal to b plus or minus delta b. So then the measured value of z will be how much? Z plus or minus delta z. I hope you guys are able to understand this, right? So can I say measured value of z will be equal to measured value of a minus the measured value of b. Can I say this? So z plus or minus delta z is equal to a plus or minus delta a minus of b plus or minus delta b. Am I right, guys? So can I write this as a minus b minus of plus or minus delta a plus or minus delta b. So z plus or minus delta z. So this and this will get cancelled. Z and a minus b will get cancelled. So plus or minus delta z is equal to minus of plus or minus delta a plus or minus delta b. So you guys tell me, like yesterday, maximum value of delta z will be how much? Maximum value of delta z will be how much?
So delta A plus delta B.
That's it. That's the answer. So whether you're trying to find the combination of errors for sum or difference, the maximum error you're going to find in the individual read, the maximum error you're going to find in the final output is always the sum of the errors in both the physical quantities. It's worth noting that it is an important point as well. Okay.
So, okay, can you go to the previous page for 1 minute, sir?
Sure, sure.
So, below this, sir. Sir, more below, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Done. Okay. The next type of combination we are going to see is product. So please make a note of this point before that. When two quantities are added or subtracted, the absolute error in the final result is sum of the absolute errors in the individual quantities. Okay. Next we will go for errors in product and division. Suppose, so write down the heading as errors in product first. Suppose Z is equal to A into B. Okay, then what is going to happen? Let me call this as 1. Again, I'm going to follow the same story. Wait, I'll copy it from here. So measured value of A will be A plus or minus delta A. Measured value of B will be this thing. Measured value of Z will be Z plus or minus delta Z. So measured value of Z will be equal to measured value of A into, can I write it as measured value of B? In this case, because Z is nothing but product of A and B. So Z plus or minus delta Z will be equal to A plus or minus delta A into B plus or minus delta B. So when I multiply both, I get AB plus or minus A delta B plus or minus B delta A plus or minus delta A into delta B. This is what Z plus or minus delta Z means. I hope you guys understood what I did. Right? I just multiplied both 1 plus 2 into 1 plus 2. That's it. So Z and A plus B will get cancelled. Plus or minus delta Z is equal to plus or minus A delta B plus or minus B delta A plus or minus this delta A into delta B is there, right? There is something important I have to tell you. Note that delta A and delta B are very small such that delta A into delta B can be approximated to 0. Okay, delta A into delta B can be approximated to 0. Why I'm saying this is because generally when you try to measure the error, the absolute error will be in terms of 10 power minus 3, 10 power minus 2, something like that. It is going to be very, very small value. Similarly, delta B will also, let's say delta A is 10 power minus 2 and delta B is also 10 power minus 2. When you multiply them, it will become 10 power minus 4, which can be approximated. That is, the number will start after 4 decimal values. Hence, this can be approximated to 0. If I approximate it to 0, then this will become 0. So what is it we are left out with? From this, we can conclude plus or minus delta Z is equal to plus or minus A delta B plus or minus B delta A. Okay. Now look at the way I'm going to divide. Divide with Z on both sides. So if I divide with Z on both sides, delta Z divided by Z is going to be on the left hand side is equal to plus or minus A delta B divided by, in the place of Z, can I write it as AB plus or minus B delta A, can I write it as AB? So what will get cancelled? A and A are gone, B and B are gone. So what do we get, guys? plus or minus delta z divided by z is equal to plus or minus delta b divided by b plus or minus delta a divided by a. So this is going to be the relation between delta z, delta and delta b. So from this I can conclude delta z by z is equal to delta a by a plus delta b by b. So what am I trying to say here? Because you would have understood why I wrote only positive sign, because I took the maximum value. So relative error in z is equal to relative error in A plus relative error in B. That is the meaning, guys. I hope I'm clear.
Sir, why are we always taking the maximum value into
Because
consideration?
that will only decide. If you take maximum value, put a minus sign, that will give you the least value. All others are intermediate value.
So what is that intermediate value?
Intermediate delta A by A minus delta B by B is intermediate value. Means, see, for example, this is 1, or I will say this is 2. It will not be that high. So let's say this is 1. So the maximum value is 3. Minimum value will be minus 3. Right? Whereas what will be the other two values? Delta A by A minus delta B by B will be 1. And minus delta A by A plus delta B by B will be minus 1. These two are the intermediate values.
Okay, sir.
Okay. That is the meaning. Okay. So in this particular derivation, if this has to be treated as a derivation, this is the most important step. If you don't know to apply this step, you're not going to arrive at the conclusion. Okay. So yesterday somebody asked me, why are we learning relative error? This is also another application. Here we are not able to find the direct relation between delta z, delta and delta b. Rather, we can only find it in terms of relative values. Clear? Shall I move on to the next one? Next. Errors in division. Z is equal to A divided by B. Okay, let this be 1. So, measured value of A is equal to A plus or minus delta A. Measured value of B is equal to B plus or minus delta B. Measured value of Z will be equal to Z plus or minus delta Z. Okay. Now, can I write measured value of Z is equal to measured value of A divided by measured value of B? Means Z plus or minus delta Z is equal to A plus or minus delta A divided by B plus or minus delta B. Guys, am I clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Now see, A plus or minus delta A, I'm leaving it undisturbed. This B plus or minus delta B, can I write as B plus or minus delta B raised to the power of minus 1?
Yes, sir.
Right. Here, there is an important note to be made. Whenever you have 1 plus x the whole power n, then this, see, I hope you guys know what is the symbol. The symbol means approximation. Okay. 1 plus x the whole power n can be approximated to 1 plus nx if x is very much less than 1. Okay, 1 plus x the whole power n can be approximated to 1 plus nx if the value of x is very much less than 1. So using this is called as binomial theorem, which you will be learning in the 6th chapter in your mathematics. But this approximation is actually not there in your syllabus also. But you have to know it for physics, okay? I'm not getting into much details of why it is so. 1 plus x the whole power n is approximated to 1 plus n into x. When the magnitude, actually I have to be more specific, when the magnitude of x is less than 1. Okay, here if I observe, what I'm going to do is, a plus or minus delta a, if you observe, this is not in the format of 1 plus x the whole power n. See, if I have to apply this formula, you guys start thinking of the logic. Which one is smaller? Which one should become x here? Should it be b or delta b?
Delta B.
Delta b, right? So what you can do is, okay, I'll do one thing. In order to make things simple for you guys, I'll do one thing. So a plus or minus delta a, can I take b out from the denominator? Can I write this as 1 plus or minus delta b divided by b? This also makes sense. It's easier. Now what I will do is, a plus or minus delta a divided by b into 1 plus or minus delta b divided by b the whole power minus 1. Guys, accepted? Right. Now observe an important point here. Is it not of the format 1 plus x the whole power n? Since delta b by b is very much less than 1, implies 1 plus or minus delta b by b the whole power minus 1 can be approximated to 1 plus or minus delta b by b only. Okay. So when this is the case, observe. This part is there, no? That I will write it as a by b plus or minus delta a divided by b into 1 plus or minus delta b divided by b. Correct? Now multiply both a by b plus or minus a delta b by b plus or minus delta a by b plus or minus delta a into delta b divided by b. Guys, I hope you are able to understand. So what is there on the left hand side? Z plus or minus delta z. So I suggest you all to write it down till this step so that you will get better clarity when you proceed. Please write it down.
Oh, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, why isn't there a b square in the second term?
Where? Here.
Sir, when a upon b is no, sir, in the last step, when a upon b is multiplied by plus or minus delta b upon b.
It is b square.
Sir, even in the second.
Where delta a.
Sir, a plus a delta b upon b. It should be b
Understood.
square, right? Yes, sir.
That's it. Done?
Yes, sir.
No. Now you guys tell me which will get. Can I say this term can be ignored? Why? Since delta A to delta B is going to be approximately 0, I can ignore it. Z and this thing will get cancelled. Right? So, plus or minus delta Z is equal to plus or minus A delta B divided by B square plus delta A plus or minus delta A divided by B. Now, divide with Z on both sides. What will happen? Plus or minus delta Z divided by Z is equal to plus or minus A delta B divided by B square into, here in the place of Z, can I write it as A by B, guys? Did you
Yes,
understand
sir.
what I did? Plus or minus delta A divided by B into, here also I can write it as A by B. Now what will happen? This B and this will get cancelled, this B and this B will get cancelled, which implies delta Z by Z with a plus or minus sign is equal to plus or minus A and A will also get cancelled. Delta B by B plus or minus delta A by A. Now we have arrived at the same conclusion. So what is that we can say? Maximum value of delta Z by Z is equal to delta A by A plus delta B. That's it.
Sir, can you once scroll up? I have a doubt. Little more.
Yeah. Is this fine?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, here we know that 1 plus or minus delta B by B can be approximated to 0. So why are we approximating it after
Because
multiplying?
delta B by B cannot be approximated to 0. I didn't say that. I didn't say 1 plus or minus delta B by B is approximated to 0 because it will become 0 only when delta B by B is equal to minus 1. No, I didn't say that. Here there are two approximations that we did. 1 plus x the whole power n is equal to 1 plus or minus n into x. Here, n that I had is minus 1. When I multiplied, I kept it undisturbed. That's it. I never told it is 0. Whereas delta A into delta B is approximated to 0. Try to understand the difference. 1 plus or minus delta B by B is not 0. Product of delta and delta B is 0. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So one important conclusion that we can draw from this scenario is we can say that whenever you have product or division of two physical quantities, then the relative errors get added. Okay. So keeping all these things in mind, the last combination is error due to power of a measured quantity. Error due to power. Power is also called as index of a measured quantity. So suppose I have Z is equal to A power n, then you can write delta Z by Z is equal to n into delta A by A. Okay. You can ask me, how did we get this? It's very simple. So Z is equal to A power n is nothing but A multiplied with itself n times. So when you had product of two numbers, what did you get for delta Z by Z? Was it not delta A by A plus delta A by A plus the third delta A by A? Like this, how many times will it get repeated? If you go n times, so sum of all these values is going to give you n into delta A by A. That is the reason. Okay. There are some textbook problems also asked based on this. We'll do it later. Okay. At the end of the session, end of the chapter, I'll do a worksheet so that you guys can understand it better. Am I clear with this? So the next topic that we are going to see is significant figures. See, tell me one thing, guys. Is this chapter over in your school? Is it
No,
not?
sir.
No, sir.
What are they teaching?
Sir, they are in the length of the measurements before accuracy.
Measurement of time, sir.
Okay, they're teaching in depth, like measurement of time, everything. Mathematical part
Yes.
has not yet started. Only theory is going on.
Yes, sir.
So before that, what
About
chapter?
those
Before
parallax
this,
methods that and all.
before this, what was completed?
First
Sir,
chapter, sir.
Physical one.
The world. Okay. Listen. Now listen. The next topic is significant figures. Okay. So what do you mean by significant figures? Can you tell me?
sir,
Can
like
you-
important.
It's significant. The basic English meaning says it's important. Right? Okay, I understand from where you're coming. See, if you do significant figures, here has something to do with measurement. So whenever you take a measurement, you're going to report a number. Okay, that number will have a certain set of digits which are going to be certain, and certain digits which are uncertain. Okay, for example, let's go back to the example that we discussed on the other day. If you take a pen, okay, or you take a rectangle shaped cardboard for which you're trying to measure its length. The scale that you have in your hand is a 30 centimeter normal ruler that you have in your hand, the one which you're using. Okay. So at this point, so initially you place the ruler at 0. 0 is placed exactly at one end of the cardboard. Okay, accepted. But the other thing, what has happened, you are able to find the other end between 15.1 and 15.2. Now, how are you going to report the answer? So the answer is neither 15.1 nor 15.2. So what can you do? You will write 15.1 if suppose you are reporting the answer like this, 18. Okay, you are writing the answer as 15.18. Is this answer right or wrong?
So not sure, sir.
You're not sure about it, right? So here, what we are trying
Yes,
to
sir.
see. One minute. Sorry, guys. So what are we trying to say here? 15.18, you're not sure, right? But how did you arrive at that 8? It was a guess, right? because you would have observed when you try to take a reading, you would have observed that the edge of the cardboard is closer to 2, and you yourself would have made a decision, right? So in this case, how many digits are significant?
3.
4, sir.
4, sir.
Actually,
Four,
there are 4 digits, because what is the statement saying? The number of digits in a measurement. So this is a measurement you guys made, about which we are certain about. What are the certain values? 15.1 is certain. We are sure, 100% sure that it is somewhere between 15.1 and 15.2. But the uncertain number that you have is 8. Right? So plus one additional digit, which is uncertain, is what is called a significant figure. So this particular measurement has 4 significant figures. Okay. Are you able to understand? So what they will do is, whenever you're trying to do any measurement in the lab, let's forget about the exam point. Let's take a practical use into consideration. If suppose you're asked to do an experiment in the lab, okay, then when you take the measurement and report the answer, you should ensure that you're reporting the answer with maximum number of significant figures that are possible. Okay, because the more is a significant figure, more accurate your answer would be, or I can say more precise you are going to be. But the unfortunate thing with respect to precision is purely depends on the measuring instrument. That is why you always need a right tool for the right measurement to be taken. That is what we say. You're able to understand? So this is the basic about significant figure, guys. So there are certain rules which are there to determine the significant figures. Okay. So what are the rules which for determining the number of significant figures? First, all the non-zero digits in a measurement are significant. For example, if you have a measurement where you're asked to measure the mass, and the mass comes out to be 125.63 grams, then how many significant digits do you have? You have 5. Because this is a measurement where there are no zeros at all. So if there are no zeros, you're on a safe zone. Okay, next. If at all zeros come, the question is about the position of those zeros. So all the zeros between 2 non-zero digits are significant, no matter where the decimal point is. If there are zeros occurring between 2 non-zero digits, then those zeros are significant. For example, if there is a measurement of length like this, 125.004 centimeter, how many significant figures are there? You have 6 significant figures, because I can write it like this: 125.004 into 10 power minus 3 centimeter also. It's up to me. You're able to understand? So this is the one which is telling the number of significant figures. So how many significant figures you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guys, am I clear with these 2 steps? Any confusion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, right? Simple only, right? Yes. Next. If the number is less than 1, okay, when the number is less than, that is, you have a fraction a by b where the denominator is greater than the numerator, then then the zeros on the right of the decimal point but to the left of the first non-zero digit are not significant. Let's read it again. What are they trying to say? Read the statement again. If the number is less than 1, okay. If I have a fraction where the denominator is greater than the numerator, then you talk about the zeros on the right of the decimal point, but to the left of the first non-zero digit are not significant. So what are we trying to say? 0.0001507. Suppose some measurement value is given to you in this way, then underline the zeros that are not significant. What are the zeros? The zeros which are underlined are not significant. So how many significant figures does this number have? It has only 4.
4.
What are the 4 significant figures? 1, 5, 0, 0 and 7. You're able to understand? Next. So the reason is very simple, guys. You know why it is not significant. So this 1507 something is there, no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's there, no? So can I write the same value as 1507 into 10 power minus 7, whatever is the unit? So which numbers are actually helping us for the measurement? It is this 1507, irrespective of the 10 power minus 7. You're able to understand?
Yes, sir.
So that is the reason. Yes. So fourth, in a number without decimal point. So if you have a number without decimal point, the zeros on the right side of the last non-zero digit are not significant. So you have a number without a decimal point. The zeros on the right side of the last non-zero digit are not significant. Means if there is a measurement of length like 132 meter, that 132 meter can also be written as 13,200 centimeter or 1,32,000 millimeter. Right? But if you, the question is, how many significant figures does this measurement have? The answer is only 3, because they are not reported in terms of decimal. But had the question been like this 132.000, then they would have made an impact. That is what the next point is. Guys, I hope I'm clear, right? These are all the rules, okay? This is not what I framed. These are all the way things are measured. So I'm just trying to explain whatever is there. Okay, the last. The trailing zeros in number with decimal point are significant. So what are we trying to say? 7.900, right? Or 0.007900. See, for example, I have a measurement like this. 7900, 7.900, 0.07900. Okay. Tell me the significant figures in all the 3 cases.
4.
4, sir.
First case,
2.
it is 2. I was expecting this. Is it not the 4th point, guys? That's what, no? So first number 7900 didn't have a decimal value. So any number after the non-zero digit, any zero after the non-zero digit is going to be non-significant. So 7900, you have only 2. What are the 2? It is 7 and 9. Whereas if there is a decimal, then all the zeros that are there even after the non-zero number also are considered to be significant. 7.900. So how many are there?
4.
4.
4. Okay, 0.07900.
4,
4
sir.
or 6? 4 or
4,
6?
sir.
5, sir.
Why 4?
Sir, zeros preceding the first non-zero digits are not significant.
Are not significant. Means these 2 zeros are invalid. They are not significant at all. Whereas these 2 zeros are significant. So you have 4 zeros, 4 significant figures.
Sir, why are we considering the zeros after the decimal point as significant?
I'll tell you. I was expecting this question. See, for example, let's take the same measurement itself. 15.18. Okay. 15.1. Right. Which one is more precise?
The first one.
Why? Because you are able to report the
Sir,
answer.
because in second one,
Yeah, please.
yes, sir.
continue.
Till no, sir. In second one, we can only report till 3 digits, whereas in the first one, we can report till 4 digits.
Yes. So let's keep the digits aside. Let's talk about decimal values. So in the first one, you are able to report your answer till 2 decimal points. Whereas the first one, you're able to report it only till 1 decimal point. Whatever could be the reason, it could be the measuring instrument, or you don't know how to do it. Anything could be the reason. But okay, but if one of the readings is 5.18, let's say I'm getting the next reading with the perfect instrument as 5.2. Will I write it as 5.2 and leave, or will I write it as 5.20?
5.20, sir.
Why am I writing that 0 now? because in my readings,
So because if I don't write 0, then
yeah, please continue. If you don't write that 0,
sir, if we don't write the 0, it can also mean that my reading is only appropriate till 5.2, not more than that.
15.2 means what you're trying to do is, let's say you're taking 5 readings, okay? The first reading you got 5.20. So I'm writing it on the right hand side. See, I'm writing it here. So you got it as 5.20, but you're lazy, you don't want to write that 0, you're leaving it like this. The next reading you're writing it as 5.18, it doesn't make sense because you're giving a misconception to the person saying that you have a measuring instrument in your hand which can measure only up to 1 decimal value. But how come suddenly you got a value in the next case? Whereas if you write it as 5.20, you ask no why that 0 is being included. You're trying to give a notion saying that yes, I have a measuring device in my hand which can measure up to 2 decimal values. So that the next reading, it is that 0 is like fill in the blank, blank space only. Means the next reading also, yeah, I'm damn sure I can tell up to 2 decimal values. And that is the reason why you're including that zeros. Or else we could have left the reading here as 7.9 itself. No, that's not the thing. 7.900 means I'm able to understand that person has a measuring device in his hand which can report up to 3 decimal values. That is why those
Okay,
digits
sir.
are
Got it, sir.
significant.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that is why those digits are significant. I hope you're clear, right? So these are the rules. So these are the rules to be followed. Now we will see how to handle these significant figures in the case of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, so when I talk about addition, for example, I can have a number 15.2, I can have a number 15.185, right? So individually treating them, they both are two different numbers. 15.2 is a separate number, 15.185 is a separate number. Now when I add these two, I'm at a question, okay, I'm having a question in front of my eyes saying that how many significant figures am I supposed to report? I'm in a dilemma. I don't know whether should I stop. If I add, I'm going to get 0. If I put 2 zeros, I can add them, I'll get a value. You're able to understand, what would be the mistake if you put 2 zeros here? What are you trying to do? Don't look at them like mathematics, look at them like a measurement from some experiment. Somebody has told you a measurement from an experiment that their answer is 5.2. But by you adding those 2 zeros, what misconception are you creating?
Sir,
Sir, we are changing it
misconception in the
to
sense that
4 significant figures, sir.
Yes, you're trying to say he has a measuring device which can measure up to 3 decimal values. Actually, he doesn't have that. He or she doesn't have that, right? So we are not supposed to add these zeros because we are playing with significant figures here, right? But I have another reading in my hand who has given me some other reading. Somebody else came and told me that I have a reading in my hand which is 15.185. He's saying I'm more precise. Now my question is, I want to take the average of these two. I'm in a confusion, right? So if this kind of a scenario comes, then how are we going to handle these significant figures in the case of addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division of these kind of scenarios? That's what we are going to see. Okay. Now let's try to think in a practical way. Any physics experiment involves a series of measurements in which each of these measurements is made up to a certain degree of accuracy. What do I mean by that? So every measurement will have certain amount of accuracy. Your measurement will have certain amount of accuracy. Someone else doing the same experiment under the same roof or same situation will have the same amount, some amount of accuracy. Might be your answers might not match, but it will be close, right? So in that scenario, the number of significant figures depends on whom? On the least count of the measuring instrument, because significant figures is going to decide the precision of that particular experiment. So, and we know the fact that precision is dependent on the least count of the measuring instrument. How much is the least value you are able to measure? More precise is your measuring device. Okay, let's take an example. Suppose the resistance of different resistors are measured using an ohm meter. Ohm meter is a device which is used to measure resistance, okay, of different least counts. See, for example, there is a resistor R1 where the ohm meter told it is 5.67, means that particular ohm meter has a precision up to 2 decimal values. And somebody else has another measuring device who are able to report the answer as 12.345. Their answer is more significant, right, more precise, right? R3 is 0.7. Now, let's say you have measured R1 from, let's say you have 3 ohm meters in your hand and 3 resistors in your hand. Okay, let's say the first resistor you placed in the first ohm meter, it is, let's say it's a digital ohm meter. When you place it, it's showing a value. You immediately made a note. How much is that? 5.67. Now you took the second resistor, placed it in the second ohm meter. Let's say you plugged inside, you're able to see a display. 12.345. You took the third resistor, placed it in the third ohm meter, it showed 0.7. Right? Now, let's say I want to do an experiment where I'm interested to connect all these resistors in series. Okay, when I connect them in series, what is going to happen to the new resistance? It will be the sum of all these values, correct? Means I need to ensure that I'm adding this 5.67 to whom? To 12.345 to this 0.7. When I do that, I am getting a value of 18.715. But here comes an important question. What is it? The first ohm meter could measure only up to 2 decimal values, second one up to 3, and the third one up to 1 decimal value. But when you add all these three devices and connect them in series, you're getting the answer as 18.715. Is that the answer you're supposed to write?
No, sir.
Why? Because you made a mistake in the other two measurements, right? So that's what is given here. Now the question is, are we justified in carrying out a sum like this? So in the measurement of R1, we got it as 5.67. We do not have the information about the third digit. In the measurement R3, we do not have information about the second and the third digit after the decimal point. It has only one digit after the decimal point. This shows that the precision of the measurement of R3 is less than the others. So what are we supposed to do? Let's think. Therefore, the sum 18.715, the second and the third digits become insignificant because of the third measuring device which measured R3. I'm trying to say that in the 18.715, this 15 becomes uncertain. They become insignificant, and the answer should be expressed only till 1 decimal value, and hence your answer is going to be 18.7. So what did we do here? We took the reference of the least significant figure number and reported the answer with less number of, we took the reference of the number with least significant figures and we reported the answer in accordance with it. We didn't report it till 3 decimal values, rather we stopped it with 1 value. This is where your rounding off concept comes, which we'll be learning next. But before that, am I clear with this? Did you guys understand why we are supposed to do this? That is more important for me. Are you guys able to visualize
sir.
it? Yes, that's good.
Yes, sir.
That's good. So, if you have any result with more than one insignificant or uncertain digit, should be rounded off up to the correct number of significant digits. For this purpose, for rounding off, there are certain rules again to be observed. So I'm going a little fast because these papers are with you. Okay, I'm just reading it out. Listen. If the significant digit, so in the previous case, 18.715, what were the significant digits we wanted to drop off? It was 15. So after 7 till 7, it was certain. After 7, it was uncertain, right? If the insignificant digit to be dropped off is less than 5, then the preceding digit is left undisturbed or unchanged. For example, if you have some value length as 10.743 and you want to drop off 43, okay? So you should check the number 4. The number 4 is less than 5. So what is the preceding number to it? It is 7. So what should be the final answer? You can leave it as 10.7 itself. Suppose one minute. 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay. Now listen. If suppose the number is greater than 5, then what are we supposed to do? If the digit to be dropped is more than 5, then the preceding digit should be increased by 1. For example, 10.68 and you want to drop off 8. 8 is a number greater than 5, so its preceding number should be increased by 1. That is 10.7. It's simple. If you take a scale real number, 5 will be at the center. If the value is greater than this, means you're trying to say that it is closer to the other end. The value is less than 5, it is on the left hand. Okay. Now the question is, what if the number is equal to 5? If the digit to be dropped is 5, then the preceding digit is increased by 1 if it is odd, and it is left unchanged if it is even. These are the rules, again I'm saying, not framed by me. You have to follow this, that's it. So if the digit to be dropped is 5, then the preceding digit is increased by 1, the number is odd, and it is left unchanged if it is even. For example, 10.45, the number you are planning to drop is 5. So preceding number is even, so leave it undisturbed. 10.4. If it is 10.55, the preceding number is an odd number, so increase it by 1. It is going to be 10.6. Am I clear till this point? Am I clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we'll proceed to the next part. That is nothing but addition and subtraction. So the following point should be observed while carrying out the addition or subtraction of two significant figures. If all the numbers are integers, okay, the first point, if all the numbers are integers, the summation or subtraction should be carried out in a normal way. We don't have an issue at all. The issue will start only when there is a decimal value. Okay. In addition or subtraction, the final result should retain as many decimal places as there in number with the least decimal places. See, for example, in the previous example, it was 0.7. So the number of decimal places was 1. So your final answer should also have only one decimal value. Okay. Now what about multiplication and division? So in any measurement, the last digit is uncertain. Okay. So multiplication of any number with least significant digit. Okay. In measurement of the multiplication of any number with least significant digit is also insignificant, but the final result should contain only one insignificant digit. So therefore, the following should be point should be observed while carrying out the multiplication or division. Let's see an example. In multiplication or division, the final result should retain as many significant as there in the original number with the least significant. For example, suppose the length and breadth of a rectangular plate is 2.613 and 1.2. So 2.613 multiplied with 1.2 is 3.1356. So least significant figures that are available is for 1.2. So how many decimal values are there? So you should be left with that. That is the meaning. So, but 1.2 is the least significant number which has only two significant figures. Therefore, the area of 3.1356 centimeters square should be represented by the number with two significant digit. So 3.1356 means 356 should be dropped according to the round off concept. So the number to be dropped is less than 5. So the preceding number is left unchanged. That is why it is 3.1 centimeters square. Let's take another example. Suppose you are interested to calculate the density of substance where mass of an object is given as 3.523 grams and the volume is 1.47 centimeter cube. So when you divide both, 3.523 divided by 1.47 is going to give you how much? 2 point this whole thing, 429665552. Now, look at the least significant numbers. So what is the? So your answer should be, so this has how many significant figures? 1, 2, 3, 4, and this has 1, 2, 3. So your answer should be rounded off to 3 significant figures. So 2.4. So you should drop from here. Since the number you are trying to drop is 9, 9 is a number greater than 5. The preceding number is increased by 1. So 2.43 gram per centimeter cube. Am I clear, guys? Here the density is represented with 3 significant figures because the measurement of volume has 3 significant figures. when two numbers are to be multiplied and divided, out of them which is not a when two numbers are to be multiplied or divided, and out of them which is not a measurement is a definite number, the integers and the fraction that occurs in general and physics equations are definite. Okay, this one you can forget. Okay, so this is all about significant figures and rounding of concepts. Okay. And the last mathematical part that is left out is dimensions and dimensional formulae, which I think can complete in tomorrow's class. Then I will have a separate class for problems alone. So whatever we have learned till now, we will be dealing with problems. Okay. Any other doubt from today's class, guys? Any other doubt from today's class?
No, sir.
Okay. So one important point, I might take a compensatory class on Thursday, which I missed last Monday. Okay, be prepared. I'll be sending a notification by tomorrow. Mostly it will be from 4:30 to 5:30 or something like that. Okay. So apart from that, that's it from my end, guys. If there is no doubt, you can log off. And vectors notes I have uploaded in the study materials tab in the app. You guys can go and see there. Okay.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
sir. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.